It is Wednesday. RawMikeRichards.com. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto, 234 King Street East, out of the Pacific Junction Hotel. Coming up today, a surprise guest, and you'll be so surprised because no one knows him.
Nope.
Warren Sockyu does. Warren does. He is one of our big fans. I will say what he does for a living because this is one of the reasons why I love having him on the show today. He is a principal. People are like, what? A principal? From a family of teachers, folks, family of coaches, and this guy knows his sports. But you'll also know those that participated in the Raw Mike Richards Blade Tape Playoff Pool Extravaganza.
That's right.
He was Polska, was it Joe Palupa?
Polska Paluka or something?
Yeah,
or Palu- yeah,
we'll
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
We'll have to ask him. And he was bombing everybody. Yeah. High school principal. Tearing it, talking smack. Actually, that was, and courtesy our good friend Ted Nesbitt, that was a blast doing that pool. Unfortunately, in the World Cup soccer, people lost interest after like the first game. And everybody was like, well, who's going to win? I don't know. Because all the good teams are out. So no one cares.
So true.
And so, Russell, yeah, you're smiling. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling, Russell Jacobson?
I finished second in the World Cup pool.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you hear he said it? I finished second in the World Cup pool. Oh, second in the world. Good for you. Too bad no one cares. No, you can't do that to people. They finish where they finish, so that's very exciting for Russell.
It is.
Also today, we're going to talk roller coasters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had just the loveliest woman in from Wonderland. Was it Grace Peacock?
Grace Peacock, absolutely right.
And she was awesome. She really was. And we had a lot of fun with her. But they're very excited about a roller coaster that is, for what it does, is the most... Well, it's a world record.
It's a world record roller coaster coming to Canada's Wonderland in 2019. We actually have a couple videos with it, Mike. Let's maybe start off with the preview in a couple of seconds, Rusty. It's called the Yukon Striker. They're introducing a world record dive roller coaster. They're launching it next year, but they've started to put the plan into action. So when you go to Wonderland, you could actually start seeing the construction of it, and it's going to attract massive amounts of thrill seekers, people that, drive on this adrenaline, because there's nothing like it. So Yukon Striker is what it looks like, and we're going to go with the preview right now.
Let's have a look.
Let's take a look.
There's some people who look at this and they're afraid already. There's some people saying, no, I'm not doing what you say. Look at that. Straight down. 90 degrees. A 130 clicks. Oh my God. That does look awesome. So this is the computer-generated version of what you're going to see.
Correct.
Who thinks of these things?
I don't know, man.
The Yukon Striker coming to Canada's Wonderland. Once again, Grace was on locally here on CP24.
You saw that too, yeah. She looked great this morning.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So... do we have the POV version? So this is the first thing that I saw today. Okay, how similar are Dave and I? Okay, so of all the things that are going on in the world, all the sports, anything you pick, Dave and I both went to, because I knew nothing of this, we both came in with roller coaster videos.
Yeah, the same one, because we send Russell stuff that we want to talk about every single day. Okay, play this, play that. And out of everything that's possibly happened,
billions of things that you could get,
we both send the same roller coaster video.
Unbelievable. Now, so if you're watching now live, get ready for it, or at least, and again, if it's just the podcast and the audio version, I apologize for that, but this is why I always tell the people, our slogan is, you got to see the show. POV version, Dave. So if you stick your face close to this, and I did for about 3 seconds, this is why it's called Point of View, a POV at Wonderland of the
Yukon Striker.
Yukon Striker. Go. Oh, no. And here we go, Dave. Shouldn't have had that burger before I got on here.
Yes.
Slowly.
Yeah, I can take this part. Take this part. Now I'm starting to regret it right now.
This is the climb. You always get nervous if you're not a real roller coaster aficionado.
That's me.
And because you know when you get to the top, as they say, what goes up must come down. And in this case, it is the biggest drop in the world. This is 90 degrees straight down. Ladies and gentlemen, the Yukon Striker. Oh boy.
Here's the drop.
Oh no. No.
It pauses before it drops you, too.
Upside down. 130 clicks. This is awesome. I can do this all day. You know what? Your phone just vibrated as the roller coaster was going around. I was like, oh my God, this is like 3D.
My breakfast just came up. Ted Nesbitt.
Well, you shouldn't be having Ryan chocolate bars, Ted, for breakfast anyway. Wow, there
Amazing.
you go. That is well done.
Wow, I love it.
Canada's Wonderland.
Yeah, so they're introducing that. Also, they are introducing, I guess it's called Winterfest, I believe. I am trying to look at it right now. Yeah, Winterfest. So what they'll have is a massive skating rink, Christmas trees, stuff like that. Utilize the park in the winter as well, because a lot of people forget that after they have the Halloween bash, which is awesome, the scare in Wonderland, which I personally want to work at that time, it usually closes down. So that's not going to happen anymore. They're going to have the skating rink and everything like that. So definitely keep an eye on that. But that was outstanding. I really like that.
We had mentioned early this week, after the excitement of the PGA Championship, that Tiger Woods, the effect that he has, it's not necessarily so much on the players as it might be on the ratings. The fact that you see the black slacks, the trousers, and the red golf shirt, that is a significant landmark in terms of what golf means to the PGA, what it meant in its time. But does it still mean something? Well, I would say the answer is yes, according to the ratings that just came out on the PGA Championship, Dave.
The fourth and final major.
The Nielsen Company said, reached 8.5 million viewers for Sunday in the final round competition from St. Louis. That's a whopping 73% increase.
Wow.
73% from the 4.9 million who watched at the same tournament at the conclusion in 2017.
Cha-ching.
So numbers to numbers, 4.9 million to 8.5, a 73% increase.
Tiger equals numbers, ratings, money. You know what's going to happen out of this? Every single tournament is going to try to find a way of enticing Tiger to come to their tournament and add incentive and purses and stuff like that. I know we see it a lot with the Dubai tournaments and stuff like that, where whichever king or prince steps up and says, here is €1 billion.
Yeah.
please come to our turn. It's going to happen. I know I'm exaggerating some of the costs, but Tiger does cash in before he actually hits his first golf ball.
Yeah, well, and let's be honest. I mean, you talked about some of those numbers coming up. for what was the tournament? Was it next year's? No. Well, what's the tournament that was left where you actually gave the numbers and Tiger was like about the third one down on the list?
Masters, 2019
Oh,
Masters.
so it was the Masters.
Yeah, it was the Masters. Yeah, he was tied for second. That's right. Or as far as odds on winning the tournament.
Yeah. We're talking gaming here.
Yeah.
So a massive overreaction to a good tournament.
Yeah.
But look.
And it's like that across the board. I know where numbers come from sportsinteraction.com, but you look at some other different sites because I always look at covers. I always look at Don Best. I look at Westgate. Every single number, Tiger Woods is listed in the top 3, top 5 at worst for the 2019 Masters, which is still 8 months away.
Yeah. Again, no overreaction.
No, none.
It's just weird. Normally in this, I'll be honest. Normally, if we're talking here in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, if we're talking about, if I say the name Junior, did you see Junior play baseball last night? If I'm talking about Junior and I'm talking about baseball, then people assume that I'm talking about Vladdy. They're just going to call him Junior in these parts.
Yep.
But Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yes.
He has been on a tear that is historically great. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's the next big thing. What does it mean? The youngest ever to homer in 5 straight games, but he also hit leadoff in the leadoff spot twice in a doubleheader on the same day. So in the doubleheader, here comes a pitch over the fence. Next game, he's up to bat. Here comes a pitch leading off, and one of them was exactly the first pitch. Is he going to be, the next big thing? I don't know if you're going to say that, but for the Atlanta Braves, and here's what I think is really interesting. A couple of years ago, before the building was built, so we talked to Steve Phillips, and we talked about Atlanta because at some point they had really, so in that full cycle, they were bottom cycle, right? So they were just horrible.
Horrendously bad.
And then in conversations that certainly you with Steve Phillips said, you know what? This team isn't going to suck for a long time. And when they move into that new building, because that was my question, can you move a junk team into a brand new building and expect people to show up? He said, well, they're not going to be junk for long. So at that point, sometimes you don't know what all the names are unless you understand the farm system and what's going on with the Braves necessarily. Ronald Acuna Jr. may not even been on the radar at that point, at least for those of us on the outside. But if you're the Atlanta Braves, I think maybe you did your research and you looked at this kid from the Dominican, and this has been his streak. This is just in the last, 4 days? 5 days? That's what this looked like.
He smokes this down by the pole left field, and this game is tied. His 14th, and he'll be staying at the top of the order for a while. Swing and a drive, and it's launched. That ball is gone. Wikipedia by his teammates as this one's whacked toward right center field and deep. Sierra back, and it's into the and another leadoff homer for Acuna. Andy Gonzalez had a rope hit to deep center on the first pitch. Can you believe it? Swing and a drive. No. First pitch. No. He has done it again.
Oh, my gosh.
That is a new Atlanta team record. Homers in 5 consecutive games. And this one's driven to right. That ball's deep. That ball is gone. That is the ultimate bookend blast. Unbelievable.
Once again, that's property of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media. Acuna 20 homered on Miami's first pitch for the second straight night, became the first player to hit a leadoff homer in 3 consecutive games since Baltimore's Brady Anderson went deep in 4 straight in 1996.
That's right. And you know who I'm most happy for? Alex Anthopoulos. Patiently waits with the Dodger organization in the front office, waits for that next position. First job that comes up is this massively talented, soon-to-be-ready Atlanta Braves job. He takes the job and first place in the National League East, 2-game lead over the Phillies. I don't know if they're going to hang on to it, Mike, but you know what? If they don't win it this year, they're going to end up winning it over and over and over for the last number of years. I'm not going to say this is the 90s Braves because that 90s Braves pitching staff was outstandingly great.
Hall of Famers.
Exactly. But they could go on a playoff run where we see the Braves in the playoffs 7 out of the next 10 years easily.
And it's baseball, for not having a salary cap, so no salary certainty, you would think that those that then are the richest teams would just win it each and every year. And it doesn't. It doesn't necessarily happen that way. Yeah, you've got a better chance when you're sitting there and you're the Yankees or if you're Boston or the Dodgers or one of these teams are going to spend. I guess, do we put Chicago Cubs or something?
Yeah, we put the Cubs in that category.
Those that are going to probably try to pay for a championship. And here's the unique thing about baseball. And I'm no baseball aficionado. Let's put it. Baseball is definitely not my first love. But what I find amazing about it is each and every year, seemingly, there is a team that doesn't fit in any of those categories, and they can win. They can win the whole. That Kansas City Royals World Series a bunch of years ago.
That's right.
That looks like an optical illusion.
Yep.
I don't know how they did it.
Nope. Because what we're seeing right now at the Kansas City Royals being 36-83. Yes. Yeah. 36-83 is kind of the norm.
Yeah. It's like there would be those born in the Kansas City area who don't know what the word playoff means.
No.
and then
so
boom.
True. Yeah.
So Moustakis and all these. Look, not that they weren't a hardworking, this blue collar kind of like one day at a time kind of team, but it wasn't like, wow, no wonder they won with that roster. No one said that. Nobody said that. Not at that time. There's no way. There were rosters that were way better. Yeah. And so I am amazed that baseball, and I am fascinated by, when it gets into October, because you never just quite know, Dave, what's going to happen. If we're taking a look at the standings right now, and again, this certainly has nothing to do with the Toronto Blue Jays, who were out of it early and will be. You're going to see a lot of young faces.
Well, they're only 31 games back. It's not that
okay,
bad.
So you're saying there's a chance. I understand that.
Yep.
But what you saw the other day with young catchers, pitchers coming up, people talking about when about Vladdy.
Yep.
When does he come up? Just here's the thing about baseball. You've got to have a patience to it. I don't think it works, at least to my mind, or very rarely, where you get the phenom coming out of college. So what? He spends no time in the minors, and all of a sudden he's either an ace pitcher or he's a hot third baseman, or he's like, you know what I mean? It's baseball does ripen in a different way, and I'll tell you, here's the ultimate example of why it is different than almost every other sport, aside from the way the sport actually is played. Tell me when your family sits around the television and watches the MLB draft. In the country that would have Chinese checkers draft if they had the sport, and yet a sport that's worth billions of dollars, and there is no national, over the top draft like
Nothing.
there is in baseball, or sorry, in basketball, in football. I would think is probably number one. I put basketball number two.
I put hockey number two, but I know what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying by the numbers.
Yes. Oh, by the numbers, basketball is number two. Yes.
So you're looking at 3 for the NHL, and that's pretty much it. Realistically, that's it.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter because that's not how the sport is played. We don't sit there around the television and watch NCAA baseball. Is it available? Yeah, sure it is. And especially south of the border, you're watching ESPN 1, 2, 3, 8, the Ocho, or whatever it is, and maybe you're going to catch some SEC baseball. Maybe you're going to catch some Pac-12 baseball. But for the most part, that's a very niche crowd that waits until this maturity, as they say in a lot of times with hockey down in the minors, the ripening of players. So therefore, even when it seems bona fide, like a Mike Trout probably isn't going to be in that category. But still, this Ronald Acuna Jr., someone's throwing out, what about, is he the next Mike Trout? Well, yeah, you might want to cool your jets on that one, because we've seen a lot of players, young players, go through these kinds of streaks. But the thing that does fit is what Dave just mentioned beforehand, which is what was built in Atlanta, how they've gone about it, and if you're Alex Anthopoulos, you know what the assembling of winning pieces smells like.
Oh, absolutely, and they'll continue to do that. And yeah, it's exactly what you said. The Atlanta Braves formula has been picked and ripened through years and years of last place, of empty stadiums, of first overall picks, drafting in the top 3. Guys like that, and now it's they're bearing the fruits. And Atlanta also, I'm not going to put them in the category of like a Boston or a New York Yankee, but Atlanta will pay for these players to stay. It's not like Atlanta is going to become the Montreal Expos of the National League, where off they go once they hit a certain stage. They'll pay for them because it's theirs, and they have the money, they have the backing. It's really funny though. A lot of people don't know this, but the stadiums that that the Atlanta Braves and Blue Jays played in the World Series in the early 90s, Atlanta's already had 2 more stadiums since that time.
It's weird, it's true.
It's like they go through stadiums like we go through shirts.
Is it Ted Turner's going, wow, I need a new stadium now? I mean, it's crazy. And speaking of stadiums, you know, we show a lot of them. We show ones that are dilapidated. We show ones that are like these crazy superstructures. I remember when the Mercedes-Benz was just being built, and there was those early tours. We had, you know, just local people who went in there and took the tour and stared. That facility might be one of the, to me, one of the premier stadiums, probably, well, for sure in North America, but maybe the world. Like, it really is that remarkable. But what do you think it will be like in friggin' Las Vegas? It's Las Vegas. As we know, magic happens in Las Vegas.
It does.
Just ask the NHL what happened with the team that people knew about 3 of the players, including the goalie, and everyone else was, yeah, I think my friend's cousin knows that guy who worked at a Max once. I mean, that's what it was. And they go all the way to a Stanley Cup final. So what can you expect in Las Vegas? Well, when it comes to the architecture, Dave, this is a company called ModelWorks AJT, and they were hired to put together the model of what it's going to look like for the, this sounds so weird, the Las Vegas Raiders. When you think about it, of all the teams that probably shouldn't have a home in Las Vegas, it's the Raiders. And guess what? It's going to happen, and this is what it's going to look like.
My name's Adam Throgmorton, and I am co-owner of ModelWorks AJT here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, man. Oh, that's going to be luxury. Yes, and to borrow a line from Zoolander, what is this, a stadium for ants? No, it's going to be at least twice as big as that.
We were so excited. We knew this was a chance to do something extremely special and have something really important for Las Vegas.
Hi, I'm Sean Ricker. I'm co-owner of ModelWorks AJT. To hear that we were actually doing the Raiders Stadium was very scary. We knew we could do it, and we knew we could pull it off, but it wasn't, you know, the fear went away. We pretty much knew how we were going to do it and make it work.
The sheer logistics of this model were huge. There were so many details that we had to really knock out of the ballpark. There were 65,000 individual seats put into this model, with people populating them about 80%. So it took hand placement of every single one. And we wanted that to really read, because that is the whole soul of this project, are the people.
One of the things that was unique about this project, with the lighting in particular, was the ribbon that goes around the perimeter of the building. If you look at the model, all of the lights that have to do with the game or the building, as far as the ribbon or the field lights, are a lot bluer, colder color light than the lights that are in the area where you would inhabit, where the clubs are and stuff like that. We tried to play with that a little bit to give it a little more dimension and just more interest when you're looking at the building, and more realism, so it feels more like a real building or structure instead of a model.
Yeah, that won't be any good. I wonder if the Bunny Ranch or anything has a stall. The only stadium with legalized prostitution. Hey, right, Russell, right, Rusty? Yeah, high five.
So at ModelWorks, we strive to make our models stand out and have a real personality.
Yeah,
and not
his voice didn't quite match what I was talking about.
The viewer. So instead of just an architectural model, you're getting an experience. When you walk up to the Las Vegas Stadium model, you get a feeling for this essence of what it is, and the personality of it hopefully comes through.
There you go. There is your stadium in Las Vegas. Look at it. It's going to be absolutely stunning. Different from the days where I believe there was a full-time well, there was a full-time judge in the old Veteran Stadium in Philadelphia.
In Philly, yep.
But they were very busy in Oakland with the giant Darth Vader guys, shivving guys who have San Diego jerseys on. Oh yeah, and by the way, Ballers just started again too, yes. which is awesome.
Wait, it's season 3?
This
season
is
4.
It's good. It could be 3.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Now that voice you hear in the background, ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest, and people are like, "Who's that?" Don't worry, no one knows except the students. Joe Juris, ladies and gentlemen, who has come in here. Apparently, no one told me you were the size of a Minute Bowl. I mean, we had the micro. That's the tallest. That's even more than Leo Rauten's.
Yeah, it's up there. I don't know if he's as tall as Leo. How tall are you, Joe?
I'm 6'6". I think Leo's 6'8", isn't he?
Yeah.
So second.
Not
tallest.
that you know. Okay, that was
Second.
weird. Okay, so, but look, thank you so much. And Joe is also a great supporter of ours, a good friend of Warren Sockhew.
Absolutely.
As you're wearing the Etobicoke Rangers.
That's right.
I'm wearing the colors today. Yep, absolutely.
So where are you a principal? Where?
Lumen Christi Elementary School in Milton.
In Milton?
Yeah, spent 23 years in secondary and then went to elementary about 4 years ago. So I'm the tallest person in kindergarten. Kids love me. I can touch the ceiling.
I was going to say.
Touch it with my left hand. They don't even know.
It's like they're terrified when Principal Juris comes in there. Look, I'm from a family of teachers and coaches, all of them. So I've lived my whole life, as I continue to do, surrounded by teachers. I think it's the most important job. I think it is the most misunderstood vocation. I think when you talk to people about what they think it is, and I always say the same thing. If you're criticizing your grade 3 or 4 teacher, and the last time you were in a classroom of those that in grade 3 or 4 was when you were in grade 3 or 4, you don't know what you're talking about. You just don't. Leave it to the professionals. They're really good at what they do. And I think the pressure, not unlike when we talk about sports and how coaches and general managers have to deal with this generation that wants to go to a phone first, that wants to have texting rather than a conversation. There are challenges that way, which means you've got to kind of reinvent approach, I would say. Do you find, now not so much a massive difference between high school and elementary, because obviously there's an obvious one, but do you think even the time that you spent in high school, do you see that the social media aspect of millennials, if you want to call them that way, has really made it more difficult to get across teaching or civility in teaching manners and respect? What has that influence been for you from your standpoint?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, anything, is talking to people face to face on the phone, right? Everything, you lose tone, emails and texts. I'll get a text, 10 minutes ago my daughter was pushed by Johnny on the kindergarten playground.
Yeah, right.
like that stuff just didn't happen before, right? So I maintain with it. Even when I was teaching, I said, even I tell my teachers, like, get on the phone. Notes are nice, texts are nice, but I coach elementary sports. I coach girls softball, still hockey, the 24-hour rule, eh? Give it a little bit of time, but it wasn't. I was 2008. There was a fight broke out. I was a VP, and somebody brought in the BlackBerry tape of it, and I'm looking at the fight. The student brought it in.
Now, is this high school or is
this is high school now? This is high school, and I'm looking. I go. The first thing that comes to me is in the fact of the fight. I'm going, man, this quality is really good on this phone. This is better than the digital films we used to film our football games, eh? So, and that's only 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing is talking to people face to face. You get rid of the tone, you get rid of the and give it a little bit of time. But it certainly has made it more difficult.
Now that's in communication with the parents. But what about the way in which children, and quite frankly, if you're what we're talking about, if you're under 18, hey, there are children who are 40, but at this point, I'm talking about, the way in which they interact with each other or interact with their teacher. When the first thing that they think of maybe isn't even playing, Joe, like playing outside. It's a video game. It's being on that phone. It's all those things that social media, I think, sometimes make me nervous when it comes to, for instance, some of the problems you see, and I used to say south of the border, but you got to realize you can't say that anymore, where you see sort of disenfranchised young people the guns coming into the schools, that ticking time bomb, and those that were either bullied or, again, felt strained from their peers. I don't know if social media has made that any better. In fact, if anything, I think it's made it worse.
Oh, they'll play Fortnite till 4 o'clock in the morning and then be late for school. It's, you know what, it's a different world. They, you know, I have three teenage daughters, and even we were at the keg last night, and all 5 of us are on we're all there talking together, but all 5 of us are checking because, you know,
true. And
there's no time off from your friends. Like, you know, if you don't respond within 3 minutes, even with us, we don't, like, what's going on? Like, you know, sometimes I'm working today, I'm checking my email today, I got like 6 emails between getting off the subway at Union and walking to here. So it's just, there's no time off, and there's no, you know, I was listening to this, there's just, people just don't interact anymore.
Right.
Everything's on through the phone. So it's definitely, you know, it's causing some problems. I think the whole school system almost is ready to be blown up. When you take a look at what we, you know, we teach Shakespeare, but we don't teach coding. It's, you know, it's the world is just evolved. We're evolving at a huge, but, you know, we have buildings and systems and books in our building that we need to use still, right? So I think we use stuff just because we have it, not so much because it's actually the best thing to do.
I could totally see that sort of thing changing as we go on, and, you know, as I have a 5 and 2-year-old, so their education is going to be a lot different than what I got. But one thing that I hope never changes is the sport aspect, and you have a pretty good sports background. So is it baseball number 1 for you? Is it football number 1 for you? How does it rank in the standings of what you've coached, what you love, and kind of put it all together? Because I sense that this is a massively sports-oriented person and family, and that's probably why you don't mind the show either.
Well, not so much the family. I'm pretty much an outcast. I go to the garage if one of my daughters is a big Blue Jays fan, but. For me, it would probably be baseball was my best sport, but I went to St. FX. I played football for 4 years there, but I'm Canadian, so I played GTHL for right up until minor midget, Mississauga North Stars. We won 2 Carnation Cups, so if I could do anything, I'd be a hockey and certainly a Leaf guy. I know you have I know you're a little not too keen on our defense, but, you know, we're going to score 19 goals, right, Russell? We don't need any defense. So yeah, my uncle went to Simon Fraser University back in the 70s. That's, you know, I know, like, met guys like Rick House and
massive
Dan Ferrone.
Organization.
So grew up all the way through that, wanting to play football, but
because if you're 6'6" and your size, I'm a football coach. I need you to play. You're probably going to play on both sides. Did you play on both sides of the ball?
Well, I was a quarterback, right?
He's a quarterback.
Yeah, so
okay. I pictured more of a tight end.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
So it's 6'6".
I tell my kids when I coach that I never really played football because I was a quarterback. I wore the red jersey, right, and ran around. So, you know, I'd be sore Sunday. Those guys would be sore every day of the week. You know.
Now, so you're a Toronto boy, born and raised, obviously.
Well, Mississauga, Etobicoke. Went to De La Salle.
You went to De La Salle?
Absolutely, yes. With Jerry, big Mr. D, you know, Jerry D.
Yeah, of course.
Same grade, right?
You know, when I talk about the Oaklands, right, the De La Salle Oaklands, and obviously Leo was a St. Mike's guy, and I said, can you tell me what your feelings on the gym at De La Salle? And his face.
Oh, it was a beauty, wasn't it? Huh?
He hated it. He goes, that stupid place.
It
that
was a box.
Stupid gym.
I painted that gym.
He did.
Well, I was the Boys Athletic Association, right? There were no girls.
Because that was built in about 1812. I don't know when that was old.
It was its 50th anniversary when I was there in '82. So
Right.
It started in '32. It started on Bond Street, right? But yeah, you know, my nephew actually went to St. Mike's. I call them a hoikity joiker, right? They're stupid cheers and all, but definitely no love lost between St. Mike's and De La Salle.
Now, how do you? Warren Saki, how do we know this relationship? How does? Did you play ball with him?
Well, Warren started with ball, yeah. So Greg O'Halloran went to De La Salle with me. So Greg and Warren are good buddies, and they played in High Park, and then they moved to Etobicoke. I say Etobicoke with the K.
Yep.
And so I met Warren in '86. He had played, and then he was off at Wake Forest. Then he came back. He played in Inter-County, but we played junior. And then when Sluggo came back,
yeah. By the way, people have to get used to the fact they're probably going to use the word sluggo in this conversation.
Yeah, sluggo. Warren is sluggo. He could just hit. So when he came back from the pros, he came back. Greg came back from Taiwan, and we played together for about 3 years before I finally retired. Warren played about 3 or 4 more years.
Yeah.
So
Sluggo was part of your all-nickname team that you could tell us, eh?
well, the Tobocoke Rangers are just full of nicknames.
You
right?
want to go through the roster?
We got the
for us?
general playing first. We got Dave Mitz-Smilsky playing first and DHing. We got Frankie Scooby-Doo McIntyre. We got Rob Pigpen Pino, who's now a doctor.
Well, that's a nickname.
We have Kenny Forshee, the world's most dangerous third baseman.
Okay.
All right. We got Valent. We had Banger. We got Irish.
Yeah.
Whitey was Whitey.
Yeah, Whitey was Whitey. Yeah, we've talked about him many
Bill
times.
is
on the
Bounce.
show. Yeah.
Johnny, wrong term, Lamore.
What about Nifty Ned? You can do a pretty good impression of Nifty Ned, I understand.
It's hard to do a Nifty Ned impersonation without dropping 19 F-bombs. The first game I ever played for Nifty Ned, and Greg brought me out, and we're playing at Legion Field in Oshawa. You ever been in the?
Yeah, of course. I know exactly where it is.
Beautiful field, all, and Terry O'Donnell had been playing there forever, and he went and bunted, and Nifty just screamed, "What the F are you doing? Get your F and GD ass over here right now!" Terry was a lefty. He's walking down smiling. I'm looking around going, what's going on? There's like grandparents around, and he's dropping them, right? Because, so Nifty was always the no bunting. We were never allowed. We hit in the Tobocoke because bunting was for girls.
I love it.
That's a Nifty line, not my line.
Yeah.
But he was a beauty.
If I'm sitting there at the Sunnybrook, and they say, by the way, your doctor's coming in, and I say, does he have a nickname? They said, yeah, it's Nifty. That wouldn't bother me.
No.
But if they say, what's my doctor's nickname? It's Pigpen.
Yes.
Rob Pino, great player, but he just got dirty all the time. He'd be sliding he'd slide and dive wherever he could, right? And he'd be out there too. He'd be going, JJ, look at that! Isn't that sky beautiful out there? And Rob could play. Rob was, I think he's in the McMaster Hall of Fame for baseball.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Is that right?
Was he part of that?
He was part of
that team in '99 that went to New Brunswick.
Yeah, that '99 team in New Brunswick. It was just like that's the thing that you spoke about it. That's how we got hooked up. You see the 18 here.
Yeah.
Whitey just passed away in January.
Right.
But it was like 3 generations of guys. The team that Nifty started in senior, and Nifty took a little bit of flack because they started in '78, and then we came up around '90, and he kicked all those old guys off and said, we've got a whole team coming up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's time for you guys to retire. So, but those guys get along well with us now, and even the team playing, I just saw a tweet now, they, Joey Votto took a little bit of flack.
Just a tad.
Yeah. But the one thing, Joey got them shirts, the senior team. We were talking about getting the senior team shirt because we saw they didn't look that good at the funeral. And we talked about maybe getting our team together and just donating some money to get them shirts, even though they are men. And then reached out to Joey, and he used part of his credit at Rawlings, actually, to help pay for that. But he just said he wanted people to do stuff to pay back. So that senior team actually hooked up with the Special Olympics team
Awesome.
and Etobicoke to do
good.
some stuff.
Awesome.
So I'll send that tweet out later after the show. So
Okay.
that's all kind of inspired by, that's, through Joey as well, I know. And Joey's taken great care of Nifty. When he flew him, he's flown him out all over the place. When the World Baseball Classic was here, at about '96 in the Sky Dome or wherever, he flew him in and he set him up in the hotel. So Joey's always taking care of Bobby, which is really nice.
Well, it's interesting in the baseball world where obviously there's been an affinity to play baseball in this country, but it seemed like, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, all of a sudden, not only were baseball players being produced in this country, but they were becoming some of the best that we'd seen in major leagues. A lot of it, out in BC. What is the reason for? Why did all of a sudden did we see not just Canadians just making it? Because there was a time where I just threw out the name, Fergie Jenkins, and that's kind of stopped there.
Started and stopped.
But,
Terry Poole.
Yeah. So what happened? So why all of a sudden did we get better coaching? Was there an influence? Like why are we seeing a name like Joey Votto do what he does?
And I think too, some of the guys, it's hard. I think they started to figure out that you come to Canada, you can get some pretty good players. So it was an untapped. I think, guys like Howie Burney, Alfie Payne in East York, Rick Fleury in Leaside, obviously Nifty. They got, had connections and they built things up, and then once you start seeing people going down and they're good students, good kids, everybody likes that hockey mentality, right?
Sure.
Well, Corey Koski also had a big run there for a while.
I played with Corey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
The stadium that we played out of, which he was a former Elmwood Giant, is now named, Corey Koski Park. So yeah, Corey and I are exact same age.
Rob and Rich came out of East York, right? Rob Butler. Rob's a couple years younger than I am, but I played some junior baseball with Rob too. Good guys. Right. So. And then BC, I guess BC's just got a little better climate, right? They can play a little longer. I guess you get that through.
Yeah, and they play a lot against the American teams that are just
because they're close. They're so close to the border.
Exactly. Just like.
And so
Simon
are we,
Fraser.
though.
Simon Fraser, yeah.
Well, Simon Fraser's, their football program still plays.
That's right.
I think they got a 33-game losing streak right now, though.
Yeah, they may
pushing the.
Rethink that.
Well, they came into the CIS for about 4 years, about 7 years ago, and then they went back, right?
That's right.
So
because it's like a Div 3, I want to say, or something.
No, Div 2. They're 2.
Is it Div 2?
Yeah, they're 2. Well, but they were the factory,
maybe
right?
Div 3,
in the 70s.
Maybe Div 3's not a bad idea.
Yeah, well, right, trying to set a record. Hey, record's a record, right? I think I got. I think I'm CIS record holder for most tackles by a quarterback. See, you take the record you got.
Right.
Was there a lot of picks? Is that what you, a lot of confusion with the jerseys? So Johnny Manziel's going, yeah, but at least I wasn't Joe Juris.
That's right. Well,
get off my back.
I'll trade with Johnny.
Yeah.
Poor Johnny.
Yeah.
I was just telling you, I read that online just coming in here that doesn't look like the Owls are going to pick up Carter.
Carter, yeah.
I don't know who. I don't know.
What is that? Hey,
That's
look,
surprising.
I get it. Look, we talked about the other day. We get that as a handful. I mean, you're getting a guy that does have some issues, but at this point, it's really hard to turn. Like sometimes, as some coaches will tell you, you can't replace talent. No. And at the professional level, they're not all great guys. They're not all the people that you want them to be. But at some point, just win, baby, just win. And I think that's a mistake. Now, the fact that you brought up, I want to play something, and this is still where people say, too bad for Johnny. I guess it's all over. I'm not of that camp. I saw an improvement in this guy who's playing for a very bad team actually make things happen. And I'm not really looking at necessarily as still this translation into an NFL career. I'm just can he have a CFL career? I mean, can he play in that league? Are Americans still watching? This is courtesy and property of TMZ and Warner Brothers, TMZ Sports. Kurt Warner's coming out of an airport, and you know how TMZ is. You come out from taking a dump, boom, the TMZ, they're there. Are you using a lot of toilet paper? Was there enough in there for you? Are you a three-way guy? Like they ask so many questions. You just don't know what's coming. Kurt Warner comes out and once again, TMZ Sports ask him a question about Johnny Manziel. When you listen to his answer, there's an indication that guess what? Not only are they aware of it, they're watching on a week-by-week basis. Once again, property of TMZ Sports and Warner Brothers.
Hey, Johnny Manziel, a lot of people are saying he won't be able to make the NFL again after throwing 4 interceptions, first game back CFL. How do you feel about that? You think he's still got a chance?
I threw 4 interceptions in arena football and 4 interceptions in Europe. I mean, it happens, and he's just getting back on the field, so I don't think this means he can't play.
It just means he's a bit rusty, though, but he's still got it in him potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is he's always trying to make plays.
Yeah.
And you saw that last week, is that he's running around, he's making some plays, some he's a little bit off, and at this level, when you're a little bit off, it turns into an interception. But again, you just got to hone it in. He's got to continue to improve. But again, I don't believe this means he can't play in the NFL, but he's still got to improve.
I like this though. This is a different opinion I hadn't heard. That those interceptions means that he's going for it. And he's flexing his.
And that's always what makes Johnny Johnny, is that he's not afraid to take chances. He's not afraid to try to make plays.
Right.
And again, that's what makes great quarterbacks great. But you got to be judicial with it.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure you're making more plays than mistakes.
So he's got to hone his skills and get down to 2 interceptions, doing the same stuff, then 0. You know what I mean?
Let's get down to 0 interceptions and make a whole bunch of plays.
Yeah.
And that's how he's going to make his way back.
Interesting, once again, property of TMZ Sports and Warner Brothers.
Signing a lot of autographs, too, during that interview, eh? But he wouldn't put down that pen.
But here's what I think is interesting. They start talking about Johnny Manziel, and he said, well, as you saw last week, he's watching.
Sure he is.
they're watching. Now, he more than almost any other guy I can think of because he's played in every single league that ever existed that decided they were going to play football. I'm amazed he didn't play in Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I am really amazed.
Used to bag
Right,
groceries.
he was bagging
too.
groceries instead, yeah.
Yeah. But I look at that and I think, okay, as much as people want to brush it off, there is still a pulse there. And if he continues to play and improve the way that he is, this is going to be very interesting. Once again, I'll say it. I think he should have been an Argo, but we don't know what was offered or what went the other way. But I think you're looking at a Toronto Argonaut market that just, it's hard and it's almost hurtful for those of us who used to go to, Exhibition Stadium and sit amongst 45, 50,000 people for a regular season game. Streetcars were packed. You knew the Don Valley. There was a game that night because it was packed. You saw all the GO trains coming in, and they would just kill for something like that now. And I think even if they play good football, which they do, they got a good defense. Even if Ricky Ray never got hurt, they go 18-0. I don't know if people in this city give a crap about football.
I don't think Hamilton's trading Manziel to Toronto. I just
But I think even before with the neg rights, that's when I would have got in there. But I just think that they thought he was going to be a poison apple, and I think, as I said, just with Devon Carter, sometimes you've got to take that talent. It's professional football. They don't have to be the nicest guys.
Well, and they do. And Jones is pretty good with those guys. He has a lot of reclamation projects there. I saw Bill Cowher speak once, and he was talking about tolerating production. He said, so long as you're producing more than I have to tolerate, we don't have a problem. He was talking about Joey Porter.
Right.
He said Joey Porter used to mouth off and said, I'm going to get 13 tackles and 4 sacks, and then he'd go out and he'd get 15 tackles and 5 sacks. He'd go, Joey, I wish you'd shut up a little bit. But he said, hey, he came out there and he made plays.
So true. Yeah.
Right. And obviously Carter, I don't know. And he did all the great stuff. I know the fans loved him. He came here to Toronto and he bought them all those tickets, right, to go to the movie. He said, come on out, we're going to watch a movie. But
who's your favorite athlete of all time? Who's your favorite athlete?
Marino.
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino,
absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I know you're a Marino guy. I've heard you talk a little bit about
Dan
him.
Marino is, he's, when people say, do you have to win a Super Bowl to be in the Hall of Fame? No. Yeah, so I'm a big, when I was 5, I got a Larry Zonka shirt, so that was pretty much made me a Dolphin fan. And then I had friends. We used to spend our summers in Pittsburgh playing baseball, so I got a lot of friends in Pittsburgh, and he played at Pitt and
that's right.
Came through, and then he just had that, 83, 84, it was just lights out, so absolutely.
There's something about the water in Pennsylvania when it comes to quarterbacks. Because
Namath, Kelly, Montana.
They come out of there like it's a depressed area at times. They go through economic depression, yet every once in a while, here comes some kid out of there who throws the ball a mile, and it's funny for a state like, people always assume it'd be a Texas or a Florida or a California. It's Pennsylvania, man. It's Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Now, hockey-wise, you're a Leaf fan. You've obviously grown up,
absolutely,
grown raised.
Sittler, McDonald.
Okay, so your favorite Leaf of all time?
Yeah, probably Sittler.
Sittler?
Yeah.
You saw the big night, all the points.
Yeah, I saw the big night. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That was it.
Huh?
Yeah.
I fell asleep on the green carpet when McDonald scored the goal off Chico Resch there.
Okay,
Right? Took about 3 months later to find the replay because you couldn't find replays. I would have been like 10.
Yeah.
But those,
Well, Pete Mahovlich, and we've talked to a bunch of guys, including Liam McGuire, but those from the 72 era, and but Pete Mahovlich said in that 72 series, he scores a goal at Maple Leaf Gardens that still to this day is one of my favorite goals of all time.
Yeah, when he goes through everybody.
He didn't see that goal for like 5 years because you just didn't see it. No one had. I mean, he had to be like Howard Hughes in his weirdo, movie room. There we go. To have something like that.
Don't worry about it.
But he said, he looked and he goes, geez, that was a really good goal. I said, yeah, it was. I always remember that.
And just, I retweeted that, Liam, Yakushev getting in, and I told him my buddy Richard, we sit on the porch every Tuesday. We have a couple beers, the whole neighborhood, and he's been talking about that for 5 years. It's the Hall of Fame. There's no more famous goal. There's no more famous picture.
No.
Maybe the Bobby Orr and Henderson. Those are the two most iconic pictures in hockey.
I've got something that probably Dave and I will announce coming up in the month of September.
Okay.
That deals with exactly what you said on maybe the biggest scale yet. There are some plans. There are things in the work. There's a blueprint of something coming
the gears are
that
turning.
way. Yeah, so that's interesting because too, when we talk about, and you played the sports, you lived in this area, you've seen a lot of big magical moments. Depending on your age group, I mean, because that's sort of the qualifier. I still don't know if I can really relate to anything beyond 72 in terms of, I was a young kid. I was obviously in elementary school. But that last 3 games and Paul Henderson, what he did, including, I know, one of the goals was disallowed. He, at that moment for the last 3 games, literally was the best player on the planet. And he said, maybe I'll never do that again, which I think he probably tell you that he never did.
He never did
do that kind of thing again. But that goal, I don't know if it was euphoric. That's the word I'd probably use because I lost my mind in the way in which it happened. It was movie-like.
I just missed it. I was 4, but I remember my uncle, my older, who lived with us. I always remember him cheering "Da da Canada, yet Soviet." Right. That's one of my earliest memories from hockey, probably from ever. I'm 4 years old, but that was just it was a magical time.
Well, we talk about, and yesterday, Dave, Jeff Kurbison, who has the book The Hotline, based on all Hedberg and Nilsson, about those Swedes coming over at the time and just how hockey and I think world hockey's degree, it's led by what we see in the NHL. I mean, everyone in the world wants to play in the best league, but that series, then moving forward, the WHA, the advent of these Swedish players coming over, then the gates kind of open. It did change the hockey world, which why I think, Dave, even yesterday, the first time I ever talked to Jeff Kurbison, but that was fantastic. If you haven't seen the interview, it's on the website, obviously, but that was fascinating.
Yeah, it really was. I'm a big WHA guy, though. That's the thing that I know in certain markets it wasn't as prevalent just because there was an NHL team. Like, for example, here the Toros were in Toronto for a short time, but this is a Maple Leafs town, so it didn't have the same impact. But the WHA Jets are the reason why there was an NHL Jet, and then they come back from the dead from Atlanta, et cetera, and the rest of the story. But the foundation is that team, and more specifically that line was the reason why there's NHL City, NHL in the smallest city in the NHL out of the teams that are available, and one of the smaller cities in North America. It's not supposed to be in a city like Winnipeg. It's supposed to be too small. It's supposed to be everybody talks about the Green Bay of the NFL. No, it's pretty much smaller when you look at TV capacity and everything.
Sure it is.
So it's unheard of, and the beat goes on, right?
Passionate fans, and that tends to what happens when you have a smaller community. I want to play something. You never played soccer, did you? Were you a soccer guy?
Oh, no, baseball.
Because you'd be the world's largest.
No,
you'd be a goalie.
Our family grew up basically despising soccer. So
okay,
I did go in the soccer pool, but
we said
you got to watch soccer just to see the foolishness.
Well, here's this is actually in the Richards Hall of Fame. This is Gordon Sawyers. His name is from Scotland, and Gordon is a very passionate Kilmarnock fan. This was a bunch of years ago after a loss that he just could not take. It also coincided at the same time as the Leafs were tanking to try to be the worst team, and it was interesting how, as the Leaf fans were hoping for a loss each and every game and cheering the fact that they weren't going to avoid being the basement, this is a Killie fan, as they say, who had a different reaction. This is one of the classic Richards Hall of Fame Kilmarnock fan, Gordon, losing his mind after yet another loss.
Right, this is the morning after the day's game video. Fucking Dundee United yesterday. 5-1, we get pumped. They're bottom of the league. 10 points they were on. Now they're on 13. Fucking hell, man. But credit to Dundee United. Can see their first half display yesterday. It should have been about fucking 7 or 8 nothing. And Simon Murray's goal should have counted. Honestly. Dundee United were brilliant yesterday in the first half. Fantastic football. But we were shite all day. Every fucking one is. Embarrassing. Another early goal we lost. Another yet. That's us. 5 against Partick. 5 against Dundee United. 4 against fucking Ross County. 4 against Dundee. 4 against Aberdeen. That's 22 goals in 5 fucking games! Holy God! This is garbage. It's not even junior football. Yesterday was amateur football. And every fan will agree with me. He's might not like me. And by the way, see that wee bus journey that stoked off and they made that song? Fucking brilliant. Quality, lads. Fucking quality. A wee bit of banter, because that's what we need. But Gary, come on, son. You can't cut the mustard. You've no got it. Come on. And use it the board. Get a grip! Because she's no nothing about football! Nothing! Because you should have done something! Fucking do something now! Act! Ah, you fucking bastards! Ah!
So we can assume he's disappointed with the play of his team. That made him famous. He ended up going on TV shows.
Good-looking guy.
On radio shows. It made him famous. But is this a coaching style that you do you have that kind of passion when you coach the kids?
You gotta bite your tongue a fair amount of time. But hey, passion is great, right? And caring about things. There's always that saying: nobody cares how much you know until you know how much you care. So if the coaches don't care and they're not putting in the passion and the time, then you can't expect it to transcend down to the students.
Are you coaching all sports, or is it baseball specifically?
I've done everything.
Yeah.
So I've done hockey. I've 26 years of high school football. Right now I'm currently a ref in football.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, 25
are you
years.
Really,
Oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Actually, you know what? I started doing it just because I got a lot of two of my best buddies. Steve Samara is a former roommate. He's head coach at Carleton. My buddy Gary Waterman, who I played with at X, is the head coach at X. So I've been guest coach. I've guest coached at both schools. And
oh, great.
So there's something to be said, I've refed in the GTHL for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing the rules is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like when they're doing this means we got enough people on the field. And Saskatchewan, and when they're tapping the flag, there's too many men. The old too many men field goal.
Yeah.
Like if that happened as I was coaching, I'd lose my mind.
It's the word.
I'd lose my mind as a high school coach.
Yeah, when that flag would come out and you're starting to count.
That's one of the greatest plays ever.
And the coaches are going.
La Police's reaction was the best.
Wow.
Up in the,
that's a buddy of his.
I know, huh? Up in the booth.
Oh yeah, like you lose your mind when that happens in like junior football. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it's like in the most important kick of your season.
It's just crazy, and
that
then
was the Rough Riders, no biggie.
Yeah, Banjo Bowl.
I don't know if you were ever an MMA guy. I mean, I'd like to see it.
More of a wrestling guy.
More of a wrestling guy.
Oh yeah.
Because there's this guy named Yoshihiro Takayama.
Okay.
As in Spanish, it was El Titan, like a giant. The time. Look how weird this looks. So I don't know if Joe Jurish would necessarily look like this in the ring, but property of whatever this is.
He'd be taller than him.
This is a very strange looking fight. I'm sure normally the guy in the green trunks, probably a very intimidating guy, probably ripped. Probably you'd walk down the street and go, don't bother that guy. Unless, of course, you have to fight this Japanese giant. Look at this. He doesn't even move. He didn't even... Oh, yeah. No. It's nice they added the sound effects, too. Oh, yeah. Oh. He just walks away. Wow. The knee to the head from a giant. Here it comes. Oh, there's the sound effect. What do you think, Joe? Could it make a new career for you?
That's why I went to elementary school.
Well, thanks so much for coming in today. I said your support of us is fantastic. I mean, we started tiny. It's not that tiny anymore, to be honest, but it's nice to involve community. As I said, being from a family of coaches and teachers, I could just tell, from even like tweets, but there was this understanding kind of what we do. As much as we fool around, I've always been told by guys who, were in the show in different sports that, yeah, but you still have this think of the locker room. Like you have an understanding that if you were behind the bench or on the sidelines or on the side of the court, that you would probably know what you were doing, which is what my upbringing was. And when I heard from you, and of course with your connection of Warren Sockhew, or Sluggo, who is really one of my all-time favorite guys. Wow. He is just a super individual.
That's the most important thing. You guys, and you reached out. You do the shows for the young people, and or for the communities and the good stories, right? With all you do for epilepsy and everything, and that's definitely the most important thing, right? You taking advantage of your position to do good things. I'd like to do a quick shout out my dad's 78th birthday today.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Better say that today. So they'll be watching probably at some point in time. Awesome. So now that I stopped sweating like a fiend, holy moly, came in here.
You did sprint from Union Station.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a hike.
But like I said, you guys do a great job, and we're doing all we can to spread the word.
Well, that's awesome. Buddy. Thanks so much for coming in. It was outstanding.
Looking forward to the next hockey pool.
Yeah. Oh, the smack talk too. That was a lot of people. That was pretty good from a principal.
What? We just become best friends? Yep. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. It's time!
I'd like to thank Joe Juras for coming in today. It was a great talk as always. People, when you have the format to just talk about life in general, Dave, as you know, that's what made this such a great and enjoyable show. And having Joe in today was really nice. It was a little touch of reality, I think, and an outstanding athlete in his own right as well.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And it was nice to see Gordon Sawyers still losing his mind over Kilmarnock after all these years. Great stuff. Remember to subscribe to Raw Mike Richards either on the website or, as you continue to do, on the dedicated YouTube channel. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow.